Welcome, dear Thriver, to Thriver TV. Today, I'm going to answer the question that a lot of you have asked, which is what is Quanta Freedom Healing? But to explain it as best as I can, I need to explain how it came about because it's not like I knew I was going to be a Quanta Freedom Healer. I certainly didn't. So, like a lot of us, I went through significant narcissistic abuse. And at that time, I was researching narcissism. I was going seeing a specialist who was helping me understand what he was. And even though I joined post traumatic stress disorder groups and narcissistic abuse forums, and I was getting therapy and doing a lot of research and getting answers, I was still hooked. I was still obsessing and ruminating, and I'd get out and I'd go back in. And this all led to eventually I had a complete psychotic and adrenal breakdown. And when that happened to me, I'd already lost a lot of property, I'd lost reputation, I'd lost the ability to function normally. I hadn't eaten or slept properly for 6 months. I was only 80 pounds. All of my hair had fallen out. I was already in a really bad state. And when that happened, I honestly believed, after I was told that I'll never recover, that there was no way I could ever come back from that. So I had started planning how to leave the planet because I didn't want to go on. And I had a voice in my head while I was thinking about how to do that that kept saying to me, no, there's another way, there's another way. And I was arguing with it. And I ended up walking into my bathroom and I hit the floor. I put my hands up and I screamed out, I can't do this anymore. Help me. And I was calling out to God, a higher power. I didn't know what else to do. And at that moment, I had a profound experience. And it was like my head opened and everything I'd believed was sucked out of me. And what entered me was this deep, powerful knowing. And it was a voice speaking to me as well, literally telling me what had happened, why it had happened, how this person was a catalyst in my life that was showing me all the parts of myself that were unhealed and unconscious, and that it wasn't about him, that this was about healing me. I got catapulted into the future and I saw and felt myself as healed, whole, thriving. I felt like I'd never felt ever before. Then I got flung back into who I was, emaciated, shaking, sweating. I wasn't healed, but I knew that I could heal. And I'd been told this had to happen from the inside out and that I would be supported in this journey. So I chose that path. And from that day, I'd been told also to turn within and to speak to myself as if I loved myself like a small child. And something astounding happened. The intense psychotic episodes, they disappeared, drug free. And then synchronicity started happening. I met people and got downloads and information and clues about inner healing modalities, which I'd never looked at before, even though I'd been doing personal development and spirituality for decades. So I studied in theta healing and kinesiology and EFT and became certified and started putting together a combination of tools to heal myself, which I called at the time holographic healing. And I was getting really good results. Post traumatic stress disorder was melting away. I was starting to feel more connected and more whole despite my losses than I'd ever felt before. However, I had a persistent agoraphobia condition where I didn't feel safe in open spaces, and it had been brought on by trauma from narcissistic abuse. And I was trying everything. I was trying to heal myself. I was researching quantum physics and neuroscience and trying to put together protocols. I was going to outsourcing to healers, the best of the best, but it wasn't shifting. And then one day, a girlfriend was going to Koh Samui, uh, and I couldn't go when she went, but she said, "Come later." And I'm like, how on earth can I travel alone with agoraphobia? I can't even go down to the shop without having a meltdown. And I knew I had to go. So I did. And it was one of the most traumatizing experiences of my life. But I got there, I collapsed into her arms, and we went to the resort, and I felt safe again. And I was really enjoying the holiday, but I wanted to get into Koh Samui, and I knew I couldn't. I knew I just couldn't. So one day, alone in the hotel room, I set an intention that I was going to find the answer. And I opened up my heart, my mind, my soul, and I asked. And immediately I started taking dictation, and I was writing and writing, and I was writing protocols, healing steps. They were things that I did know in regard to kinesiology, theta healing, but there were things that I didn't know, which were a deeper timeline aspect, more compartments of the subconscious to access. And there was also source downloads that were much more impactful and richer and bigger than what I've been used to. And even though I didn't know these things, I had goosebumps all over, and I did know them. And you may understand what I'm saying. So I applied the first ever Quanta Freedom Healing to myself, and 2 hours later, I was out in Koh Samui playing in life more confident and connected to people than I had been ever my entire life. And I knew something crazy had happened. I came back to Melbourne and I dropped holographic healing with my clients. And I said, no, we're doing this. And I discovered that their deep persistent trauma was shifting as well. And then because a lot of them had other therapists or psychologists or domestic violence workers, they rang me up and they said, what happened? Because my client today was different than my client yesterday. What happened? And then a lot of them came to see me for a Quanta Freedom Healing because, as we know, a lot of practitioners have got their own trauma. That's why they're practitioners. So word of life exploded. I had more clients than I could handle. And I knew I needed to create a healing program because news of this had spread overseas as well. People that couldn't even get to me if they could get in for a session with me. And that was the birth of the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program. Since that time, what has now happened is tens of thousands of people from all over the world, 150 different countries, for the last 15 years plus have been healing and releasing themselves from inner trauma with the Quanta Freedom Healing modules in NARP and also my other programs. But I think at this point, before I explain more about NARP, I should talk to you about why it has been so difficult for us to try to heal logically, because that was what I'd done until this point. It's what a lot of us has done. And we know in our real life experience that the obsession, the rumination that goes with narcissistic abuse is crazy. And then what ends up happening is we're doing stinking thinking. We're trying to think our way out of our obsessional thinking, trying to get an answer or some form of information that's going to give us closure and peace, but it just doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? The reason why it doesn't work is because the seat of our trauma and where our painful programs are is in our body. They're not in our head. And wonderful neuroscientists such as Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, the late Candace Pert, and others are now explaining to the world why the brain follows the body. I'm going to give you a really simple example about this. I want you to say the statement, I think devastated. Just say it and feel how it feels. And then say, I think traumatized. These statements are disconnected. They're kind of like caveman talk. Of course, these statements are meant to be, I feel devastated. I feel traumatized because they're going on in your body. So, our ability to think with anything cognitive or learn or research, keep it all up here. Our ability to be able to get in here and do the real work is no more possible than it is to try to access your television from a radio frequency. They just don't connect. And what's been the problem is in our head, rather than heal what's going on inside of us, we're actually thinking our way into more inner identification with our trauma, which makes it worse. Now, I want you to imagine if you were in a hit and run accident and you're lying on the road and you're bleeding out, and people with you started yelling at you and told you to get up and get on with it. And they went after the driver and then frantically started tracking him down and researching why he's a sociopath to leave you in a hit and run and what were the conditions in his life that made him do that. Now, of course, you're not going to heal. You're going to lie there and bleed out. So how many times have we just tried to blame and shame and force ourselves into health? And how many times have we just self-avoided and self-abandoned and just focused all on the narcissist and left ourselves the way we are? And just because you can't see your inner trauma doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And also, too, we haven't realized that our inner emotional system is as powerful as our inner physical system when we give it the healing and the right conditions for it to be able to produce healing. And it really is like if you have an abscess that's filled with the toxic infection and you just try to put some cream and a bandage over the top of it, it's not going to get better. But if you lance it and you let that toxic infection out of it, sorry for the nasty visual, it creates space inside for healing to begin. And it's exactly the same with us if we get into our being and get that toxic trauma out, which Quanta Freedom Healing does. And that's why it creates such a difference in the way that we heal. So what is Quanta Freedom Healing? Quanta Freedom Healing is a meditative kind of process whereby you go into a deeper theta brainwave, which gets underneath the logical brain to be able to access in your body, even if you've been struggling with massive rumination and obsession. The process teaches you how to do it. Now, it's not just relaxation. I've put in there intentions and energetic codes that access your subconscious. So all you have to do is open and breathe and just follow my voice. And in a lot of it, there's really nothing for you to do except open and breathe and let the process get in and do the work for you. There's not a lot you have to do in a Quanta Freedom Healing. And in fact, less is so much better. So what happens is it's loading up the trauma from different parts of your compartment, releasing it out, giving it back to true source, a higher power, to the universal mind, to dissolve back and recycle, freeing space for you to receive the download of source, soul, true self replacement on whatever topic you're shifting from. And what that does is it gives you a shift out of who you were being into your higher self potential on that topic. And what it feels like is relief. It feels like a release. It feels like space. It feels like calm. Ships come in over calm waters. So, where that trauma was and where you were stuck in the bandwidth of the trauma, now there is the space for the healing, which is inspiration, which is outer solution and support. It's synchronicity, it's the calm, the power, the wisdom to know what to do. So, as you get better from the inside, you do so much better. And what happens with abusers in our life because they're a false self and they're stuck in lower consciousness frequency of deceit and darkness, as a bright light coming into being fearless with source partnering you, you are no longer handing over narcissistic supply, which is fear and highly charged emotional energy. You take your power back. And it's like a light is shone on a vampire. They can't deal with it and they cannot stand against it. So they get out of your life. And what happens is they fall in trying to stand against you. They get exposed, they lose court cases. They will even capitulate in regard to property settlements and custody arrangements, because a narcissist cannot stay in your experience if you're not triggered and handing over narcissistic supply. They're defeated, they leave. So, what Quanta Freedom Healing does is it grants you a much deeper tool than the logical, practical experience that we've been trying to have to heal from this, which is kind of crazy because narcissistic abuse is a spiritual battle for your soul. There is nothing normal and practical about this. You know, it feels like a psychic disease. You know, you feel the black ink of this person energetically inside you, sucking your life force, even if you haven't seen them for years. So, we need a deeper healing solution. And Quanta Freedom Healing has granted that to a lot of people, even when they believed that they weren't going to survive this. And even when they've gone through the most disgusting, shocking experiences with narcissists. And I know that you know what that's like. It's absolutely unthinkable. So I want to share with you the usual healing timeframes that narcissistic abuse does supply. So what happens is most people from the first healing feel it. So if you've come into any of my events and done a Quanta Freedom Healing with me, you know what that feels like. You feel a relief, you feel space, you feel better. Generally, within 1 to 3 weeks, that obsessive rumination has started to calm down enough that you can eat, sleep, and function. Within 1 to 3 months, so much of your trauma has melted out in a way that your CPTSD and things like fibromyalgia, adrenal malfunction, anxiety, depression, getting triggered, all of that has reduced significantly. Most people within 6 to 18 months, their lives are unrecognizable. Their lives have rebooted emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, physically, in ways that they weren't able to access even before the abuse. And if abuse is all they've ever known, and they're living abuse free lives and they're thriving in their new lives, regardless of what they lost and left behind in the past. So we get really excited about, and it is exciting to live like this. You know, coming from a past of personal development, due diligence, It used to be about you'd have to bash pillows and scream it out and go and see therapy and dissect your past and your childhood and, all this stuff. Whereas with Quanta Freedom Healing, you don't even need to remember where the original trauma was set up. You just signal your body to show you the dense energy, follow the meditation process of the module healing, and it just gets loaded up and released and replaced by light, and you reset. So it's so much easier, more supportive, and loving to do it this way. So, who is Quantum Freedom Healing for? Well, it's unconditional. So, it doesn't matter your age, your gender, your sexual orientation. It doesn't matter your religious preference. It doesn't matter if you left 40 years ago or if you left yesterday. It doesn't even matter if you're still with this person. And it doesn't matter who the person is. So, it could be a lover, intimate partner, spouse, could be a family member, could be a friend, could be anybody, a neighbor, could be your own child, anybody at all, because this is about the trauma inside of you that's making you sick, hooked, and stuck in abuse programs. Okay. It's all about you at the end of the day. And that's why it is so, so powerful. Now, also, too, with the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program, there's a heap of resources and bonuses that come with it. The most important thing that I can share with you is that you have a global forum, which is super thrivers and moderators who are up leveled from where they were to thriving from all over the world, who are there for you 24/7, 365. So you have your Thriver tribe, which is people who are beautiful, loving, supportive, most importantly, solution based. We have seen it all, any inner and outer issue. People go, well, my experience is individual, it's mine's different. No, it's not. We've seen it all. And the other thing is, too, unconscious abusers, they are all very similar. It's quite boring how they do the same stuff, and it's highly predictable. So we're able to guide you and let you know what's coming up, how to get through it, and what to do, which is so helpful because it's uncharted territory until you've gone down the madness of the narcissistic abuse ride, and especially the separation and getting clean and clear of them. It's not a normal feat, and we know how to do it very quickly, powerfully, in the least painful and most empowering way. So all of that comes completely free with your NARP program. Now, also too, excuse me, with NARP, I take all of the risk for you to try it. There's a complete money back guarantee for you to try. You get all of your resources at once. You'll be really surprised at the price of this program. And you can pay off a small amount monthly. You get all of your resources. And if it's not for you, it's just one email to support@MelanieToniaEvans, and you get a full refund. So I hope that I've explained this. I hope you've got a sense now of why what you've been trying to do and trying to survive has been so painful and hard. And I hope this has given you hope that you can heal for real and that your life can be changed beyond description. I still do Quanta Freedom healings whenever I feel any dense, painful, confusing energy, whenever I'm feeling sick, whenever I've had an argument with Glenn I can't resolve, which is normal. I use it to load up any dense, confused, painful, emotional, or physical feelings. I let them go. I bring in the light, and it opens up space for solutions, synchronicity, reset, and my life just gets better and better. So, this is only the beginning with this stuff, but I know how bad narcissistic abuse is. And it doesn't have to be a life sentence. It can actually be the point of personal catharsis, because life can't go on as normal, for you to go quantum, turn within, and truly free yourself into your true self and your true life. If you'd love to do that, I'd love to help you. The link with NARP is with this video. I'm also going to put a link up of success stories so you can see what people have gone through and where they've come to. And, we'd love to welcome you with our open arms and open heart so that you can become a success story and a super thriver as well. So until the next one, you know how it goes. Keep smiling, keep healing, keep thriving. There's nothing else to do. And let me know in the comments whether you think this explained the intangible, whether it makes sense, and also any of the thrivers out there who are using Quanta Freedom Healing. If you've got anything else to add in the comments about your experience and understanding, please share. All right, everybody, lots of love. Bye-bye.